Lucas the Littlest Lizard by Kathy Helidoniotis, illustrated by Leonie Worthington. Lucas the Lizard was little and brown, and lived at the zoo in the heart of the town. He shared his abode with a frillneck named Fred, the star of the zoo in his youth, so he said. But they had so few visitors, Lucas was sure that lizards were really a terrible bore. One day he asked Fred, "Where are our spectators?" "They're off," grumbled Fred, "watching green alligators." "It's time for the seal show, they're feeding the tigers. There's a new exhibition of black hairy spiders. To marvel at monkeys they'll wander for miles, but nobody seems to care much for reptiles." "Surely," said Lucas, "you have to be wrong. It seems a visitor's coming along." But Lucas the Lizard was in for a fright, when a sour-faced gent looked at him with spite and declared, "I believe, and I'm sure you'll agree, there are many more interesting creatures to see than lizards." Then he sauntered away. Lucas's heart sank in dismay. Lucas just couldn't believe it was true, but his tiny reflection gave him a clue. It wasn't him being a lizard at all. Nobody came because he was small. Lucas the Lizard thought each day and night, then woke up one morning and said with delight, "I have an idea. I've thought up a plan. I'll bring in the people. I know that I can. Just watch me. I'll be the new star of the zoo. If seals can do tricks, then a lizard can too." The very next day he was up at first light, to rehearse all his tricks and get everything right. He walked on his hands and danced on his toes. He balanced a wobbly stick on his nose. He hopped on one foot and stood on his head, but no one was watching apart from old Fred. Lucas gazed down at the seal pool below, where hundreds of people awaited the show, and thought, the last thing they want to see is a lizard as small and as foolish as me. But Lucas was in for quite a surprise. Rain started falling, clouds darkened the skies. In a few seconds flat, the seal show was washed out. There were people angry. They started to shout, "If they want a show they shall see. But first they will have to notice me," thought Lucas. Then a tiny girl said, "There's a lizard up there who stands on his head." Before long the crowd had gathered around to see Lucas perform. They made not a sound. He walked on his hands and danced on his toes. He balanced a wobbly stick on his nose. He hopped on one foot and stood on his head, and then took his bows beside his friend Fred. The crowd cheered for Lucas, the new star of the zoo, who couldn't believe his dreams had come true. Now Lucas knows what's most important of all, to believe in your heart you are never too small.